name is Khalid. I'll be doing the negative constructive. Subpoint A. The affirmative talk that chemical weapons is a threat to their allies, and Assad's chemical weapons might help Hezbollah groups to acquire these weapons, and that is a threat to the U.S. allies, even though that there is no guarantee that these terrorist groups are going to actually obtain these weapons. There isn't a clear idea of where these terrorist groups are and what their purpose. Subpoint B talked about Russia's veto power as a barrier to the strike, even though U.S. ally France was the one who brought the idea of the strike. Russia has a UN security has a position, the UN Security Council, and it says that they say that diplomacy would work much better than actually just going in an irrational strike without clear evidence to support it. Russia as being a barrier is a good thing because they're trying to prevent war instead of actually trying to make one. Subpoint C. I agree with the point, but I disagree with the interpretation of saying chemical weapons are going to be returned by the end of the president's reign or at the mid-2014. Yes, it does give him more time, but the interpretation of him having more time, gives us more diplomatic solutions and more diplomatic time to resolve this issue. Subpoint D. More time for chemical weapons. The piece of evidence saying that we tried diplomacy, but the only thing it does is give Assad more time to do so. Again, I'm arguing about the interpretation of it, of how this could be a good thing and not a bad thing. Subpoint E. That it's a threat of Israel and other U.S. allies. Chemical weapons, or where the chemical weapons are, and they're gonna use it more and cause more destruction and more death. There is no evidence saying that these chemical weapons are gonna be used outside the country. All it said was yes, it is a threat, even though it is there, but the Middle East all depends on where these chemical weapons are. These chemical weapons could be used, are in Syria's hands, and with the diplomatic solution, we could actually leave them. Stop it and distribute them and use a diplomatic solution instead of just striking. Subpoint F, chemical weapons are. Subpoint F says chemical weapons will be used again, and this is not the last time that Syria is going to use it, and it might be used in other wars, and terrorist groups might obtain these. But there is no clear evidence and there is no guarantee that Syria is going to use it for the first time, for the second time. And there are no evidence supporting that the Syrian government was responsible for these strikes. Contention number 2. In subpoint A, they said that this could be a limited strike and that they should give the president the authority that he needs to issue that. But there is no guarantee that this is only going to be a limited strike, since it is a strike. So if you strike at first, then there will be a response and there will be a reply, and it actually could destabilize the Middle East. Subpoint B. The strike will degrade Assad and could prevent the war, but it actually could start the war, since the strike will initially will start by the U.S. And if you strike Assad, and it does not work, or it doesn't actually take these chemical weapons, then it could give an opportunity for them to strike back. Subpoint C. Strike will not keep chemical weapons from the very people you try to hide it from these terrorist groups. Because as we saw in 2012, as the governments fall, these terrorist groups rise. And what they're trying to do is obtain these weapons. And so when the government falls in a country, then it's very easy for these extremist groups to obtain these weapons, distribute them, and use them against other countries. I now stand for cross-examination.
You said that in subpoint, in convention 1A, you said that there was no guarantee that the terrorists will use chemical weapons, that they won't obtain them,
Yes.
and that we're assuming they'll attack. But, so are you saying there's a greater chance they will not attack and commit terrorist acts than actually?
Yes.
Okay, and then do you have, because we've seen them attack and do horrible things before, like 9/11, because you're talking about Al-Qaeda, so like, do you have any evidence?
Subpoint A said it was talking about Hezbollah, it wasn't talking about Al-Qaeda.
And then they're sided with the Syrian government. And then, do you have any evidence on Convention 2, Subpoint A, that they'll destabilize the Middle East if we attack?
No, I don't have any evidence supporting it.
Or do you have any evidence saying that if we attack, we'll start a new war?
I don't. But it's an assumption.
Okay.
Excellent. All right.